Welcome to the DIY Writer Show with the mild-mannered, slightly heroic host, Jeff Bacon.
This is Jeff from the DIY Writer Podcast, and today we have a special guest. His name is Terrance Popp. If you don't know him, obviously you're not paying attention to YouTube or anything else. He's an author. He's a comedian. I mean, he's very funny, and he has a website called redonkulas.com that I suggest that all of you check out. With no further ado, I'd like to introduce Terrance Popp. Terrance, how you doing today?
How y'all doing? Thanks for having me.
I know, it is absolutely my pleasure. We're just kind of talking a little bit about your hobby of writing books, which is kind of interesting. You have three of them out that we'll talk about. You have a series out that you're just starting, which is the Jericho Files. Yeah, Killer of Killers and Showdown. And then you have a book on philosophy, basically, The Warrior's Way and the Soldier's Soul.
Yep.
So what would you like to talk about first? It's your show, man.
Well, we can start off with the philosophy one. That's the first one I put out.
Okay.
That one was published in 2012. And one of the main reasons why I did that book is one, I suffered a pretty significant TBI when I got blown up in Iraq in 2004. It sounds worse than it was. And then, once your brain is going to heal from that, and it didn't heal back the same as it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally had to change how a lot of my mental processes and how I would think and approach stuff in life, because the old way before the injury, I mean, it was causing all kinds of, anxiety and problems.
Okay.
So I basically changed the software in my thinking meat to,
Thinking meat. Okay.
Well, it is,
Yeah.
And also, like, another thing, I wrote the book is to try to help people when they come back from a combat zone,
Mm-hmm.
to not kill themselves.
Yeah.
Because, like a lot of people don't seem to realize is how you were before you go to war and how you are when you come back are completely different.
Yep. I don't have personal experience with that, but I have a lot of friends who to this day are still kind of fucked up, and whether they're going to therapy or whatever, it's not something you get over quick.
And to be honest, you don't really ever get over it.
Yeah.
You just learn how to get through it.
Yeah, that's probably a better way of putting it. Again, I don't have any experience in it, but I watch people go through it, and it's like, fuck.
Oh yeah, I mean, I still have PTSD. I have all kinds of problems and stuff, but like I said, like when it gets bad, you just got to go through it.
Yep. That's what everybody says. There's some things I've been told stories that it's like, how the fuck do you ever forget that? And you don't.
No, you don't.
You just kind of, what I've been told is that basically you just kind of learn to deal or live with, and that's it.
Well, like with me, I know what triggers a lot of problems, so I stay away from that.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes you can feel it coming, and you just gotta, hunker down and in the bunker and ride it out.
Yeah, not a lot of people do that in regular life. I don't know how the fuck you do that with,
I know. And like I refuse to take like the head meds and stuff, because I remember when I came back from Iraq, they put me on several different head meds, and I was like, okay, I'll take these for a year.
Yeah.
But after that, I'm not staying on these forever. I'm not doing it. And
those really fuck you up. I mean, I've watched people, just family members be on those, and they're like, they're not the same person at all. And obviously they haven't been through what you've been through. And it just,
it's like a crutch, like if you break your leg, they put you in a cast and give you crutches until the leg heals up where it's strong enough that you can rehab it and walk on it again. The head meds, the way the doctor explained to me is like, look, man, there was a lot of bleeding in there and all kinds of craziness going on. Your body's flushing that thing out. It's going to take about a year and a half. Take these while that's taking place, and then we'll readdress it when, in a year
Mm-hmm.
and a half, if you could come off or not. And I basically just told the doctor, I'm like, it was 13 months. I'm weaning off of this stuff. I'll be totally off of it in a year and a half.
Yeah.
And I did.
Were you addicted to it by that time?
Not really, but you do have to wean off of it because I mean, that's a chemical. It's messing with your thinking meat. And,
I love that.
Sorry, you just can't go cold turkey because there's a lot of chemicals and stuff that those pills replace that you won't have going on in your brain, and that can cause lots of problems.
I think I'm going to steal that thinking meat. I like that. Yep. I'll teach my 3-year-old daughter thinking meat. She'll use that at daycare. That'll be fun.
How many kids you got?
I've got 4.
Whoa.
I've got a 30-year-old, a 20-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 7-month-old.
Wow, you got the whole gambit going on.
I do. All by the same woman. So.
Wow.
Yeah, right. I know. You weren't expecting that, were you?
No.
Neither was I.
Things happen.
They do. It's kind of weird how that works. You'd think after the first time you'd know how that shit works, but afterwards,
Yeah, well, you slipped in by the goalie a few times. Now you're in overtime.
I'm gonna, yeah. So much for retirement. Anyway.
Yeah. Ever.
So what kind of things do you discuss in The Warrior's Way and Soldier's Soul? That, I mean, what are the things that somebody could look at and say, okay, I could use that? And the thing about a book like this is that it's not just things that somebody that came back from a war and went through what you went through could actually use. But I mean, a lot of those lessons are I assume lessons that anybody could use.
That's right. Anyone can use them. It's not just for warriors. Though I do write it, in a very direct way. And some people said it was condescending. I don't care. I mean, the truth hurts. And, if it doesn't, then you're living a lie.
I think people are soft as far as anything in literature goes at times. Their expectations of when they pick up a book, especially something like this that deals with philosophy, they should be all, happy and rainbows and unicorns shooting out of their ass and everything else. And it's not, life's not that way. There's a lot of good books out there that get a bad rap because they take a blunt approach. But that's really what's needed in a lot of times. I mean, in a lot of cases.
When I originally wrote it, I mean, it was over 300 pages long. And I sat down and was going through it. I'm like, what? This is crazy. This is written for academia. What the hell with them? I need to get this to the dudes on the ground.
Right. So
I dialed it back to like a 10th, 11th grade education. And it's 144 different points. And I tell you what the point is. And then I describe it in a page and a half each.
Mm-hmm.
And I cover like killing, dealing with death, PTSD, the mindset of hate and fear and anger and stuff like that.
I know a guy who hit a bike on a bike. I mean, just a biker just kind of swerved out in front of him. He hit it. Wasn't his fault at all. And it's just a bicyclist. And the effects that had on him in a fucking accident was tremendous. I can't imagine pulling the trigger on somebody and what that would be like, especially, a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road. And,
yeah.
I mean, multiple times.
Like in the book, I mentioned that, like, be careful of the weapons you carry, because not only do they kill the enemy, but you at the same time. So use it sparingly.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I literally told all my soldiers, I'm like, we are in a combat zone. You are airborne infantry. You have the power of life and death in your hands. You need to be conscious of this and do not abuse it, because it will get even sooner or later if you do.
Yeah. I like on your YouTube channel at times you have descriptions of things that are very raw and real, as far as, when you describe things that may or may not happen in military service. And, when you're like me and you're just writing fiction, I write fairly violent fiction, and you kind of think about the effects of things afterwards. I mean, to be honest with you, some of your videos help me write. You know, because you have to actually, when you're building a character, you have to make them real. And the best way to make them real is that, you know, they have some remorse for something that they did, whether they, you know, just, you know, brutally killed somebody because they had to, or they, you know, did whatever. And then that afterthought, you can't just have them be the normal Hollywood superhero where it's like, hey, it's no fucking big deal. Let's go have a beer. Bad guy's dead.
Yeah, the sociopathic, you know, psycho killer.
Yeah, that you know, you don't really want to write that because you want to make them more relatable.
Yeah, like the main protagonist of my fiction books, you know, they're very graphic death scenes where I just call it gore porn. It's wicked. And the people that he basically drops the hammer on are like, you know, murderers, child molesters. And it's not like he doesn't know what they're doing to me because he's a psychic. He literally can see what they've done in the past, and he's
right.
No, and he wipes them out.
Now, is that the killer or killers that you start that with? That's your first.
Well, the killer of killers. I basically start out, and that one was a bunch of short stories that I weaved together.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know, it's basically a bunch of side missions, and where he goes after you know, child killers and molesters and stuff like that. Because you know, he's carrying some psychological trauma forward from his childhood because, you know, his older sister was kidnapped and murdered and raped by the son of a local judge. And he knew it because, you know, he was a psychic, but nobody would believe him. So he had to he had to keep his mouth shut and then, you know, grow up, went in the army, and then came back on leave and killed that dude. But, you know, it is what it is.
No, it is. And then is it the same character in the Showdown then?
Yeah, it's the main character in the Showdown, but you know, I do kill off one of the characters, you know, Manny, who's an older individual. He was dying anyway, had cancer.
Yeah. And
then I introduce another one, a younger model, which basically does almost the same thing, except the younger one now has a child. It complicates everything. And as the stories progress, you know, I'm going to bring in some other genres, and they're going to cross paths. Like I'm bringing in, like, there's magic. I'm bringing in a wizard. There's demons, devils. You know, the whole deal. I mean, so forces of darkness.
What's the setting of this then?
What's the setting period? It's like 2005 to 2011.
Okay, so it basically turns into from a thriller to an urban fantasy type book.
Yes and no. I'm literally like on the wave of the two worlds, riding the surf into the beach. You know what I'm saying? It's not really one or the other. But cool. You know, like I do want to actually take a separate story arc where actually there's the full-blown wizard who does, you know, a lot of the same things, except he goes after like magical opponents, you know, wraiths, vampires, demons, stuff like that.
So how many books do you have planned for this series?
Well, the first series is 3. The third book is 70% done. I just got to get my motivation, pull it out of my ass, and just get it done.
Yeah, it's a strange thing, but you know, in lockdown and quarantine and all the shit we've been through so far, you'd think this would be an author's dream.
I'm just not motivated. I need to get over it.
Yeah.
There's ideally, I would like to do 4 books a year or more.
Okay.
But you know, I have to find better editors and stuff like that because, you know, I do suffer from dyslexia, and that causes problems.
Oh, you're looking for an editor?
Well, yes and no. It all depends. Some of them just, if I get along with them, great. I do tend to go through them relatively quickly.
No, I get that.
They get frustrated, but you know, I understand. Like the first 2 books, fiction books, were edited by a company out of England.
Mm-hmm.
So literally, we spent a lot of time on Zoom and Skype, going through the lingo because he was editing it from the English London aspect, and I write it from the American, and some of the crossover stuff was hilarious.
Yep. My very first book that I published, I had a Nigerian editor who told me that she told me that she she can speak perfect English, and I got the first draft back. I'm like, oh, you mean English, not my English. Yes.
All there's English, and then there's American.
Right.
Yeah.
And I had to explain that I'm writing to Americans, and so she'd look up a word and say, I don't understand what this means, and I can't remember what it had, something to do with cars, and it's like, okay.
The boot and the trunk.
Yeah. Exactly.
I'm like, what the hell's a boot? He goes, what's where you keep your spare tire? I'm like, so it's a trunk.
Yeah.
No, a trunk is something you take on an ocean liner. I'm like, oh man,
we're gonna have a problem. That's a long fucking meeting.
But I gotta laugh about it. It's hilarious.
It is. So do you what's your do you like proofreaders and beta readers and all that kind of stuff, or what do you do?
Well, to be honest, I just pound out the book, and then I have somebody proofread it. Maybe I'll change some stuff. Most of the time I don't. If there's continuity problems, we'll address that. But like so far, the 2 books I've written were basically first time goes. It's weird. I don't know. I just because maybe it has something to do with the fact that I used to play Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah. So when I write a book, I'm actually writing an adventure.
Do you know how many people actually come on this show and tell me about, like Dungeons and Dragons or any role-playing games, and they like, oh, I had the best idea for a book because they were playing a game like Dungeons and Dragons. It is funny as shit to me.
Yeah, like the character Thomas Belial was a character I came up for a superhero game. And I put in all the legwork to make the character, and then the GM is like, "Yeah, he sounds great, but he's going to get killed in the first time because he has no superpowers. Yeah, he can find anybody, can track anyone down, but then what's he going to do? He's a bullet sponge." So I was like, "Okay, yeah, you're right." But I kept it around.
When I get into these conversations with authors who are usually quite a bit younger than me, you never played Dungeons and Dragons? It's like, no, I dated in high school. Because
well, I didn't get a lot of play in high school. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's all right. It's all right. It is what it is.
I made up for it by getting married early. But anyway. So you have one more book coming out in the Jericho Files, and then you have an offshoot basically, or are you gonna try and keep some of the same characters and then put them in the offshoot?
Yeah, like the Thomas Belial from the Jericho Files. I'm probably going to continue writing his story arc, and then the wizard I'm introducing is going to be a separate story, and that one's going to have a lot more. Because let's face it, Thomas Belial is just a normal guy.
Yeah.
Doesn't have any superpowers. You can't take a punch. If you shoot him, he'll die. And what he's really good at is he could track you down anywhere on the planet, either astrally or, remote view. He has other aspects at his disposal too.
Well, in itself, that's cool. I mean, as far as a main character goes, I mean, he doesn't have to do all the heavy work. He can just be the brain on top. I find that interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah. Like Tom has this friend, Jake, who's a ghost that
really?
he interacts with, and he's had him since he was a kid.
Okay.
And basically Jake, right around 10 years old, Jake decided he was going to quit aging because, Tom was like, "Hey, you're not an imaginary friend, you're a ghost." And Jake never talks. They communicate with, they make eye contact, and they show images to each other, but they never talk.
Kind of like a telepathy type thing.
Yeah, but he never, like, the kid never talks at all. You know, he makes some hand gestures once in a while.
So then your main character has to figure it out from the images that he sees. What's really going on?
Yeah, and he's been doing it his whole life, so it's not really a big deal.
Yeah.
And then he has a spirit animal, which is a giant panther that he uses to run interference for him too, and that actually helps him to step up in class and go after other targets other than just, you know, mortal men.
Yeah. That is cool. I mean, this guy seems to have an awful lot of powers. You don't want to make him too powerful, otherwise he's invincible.
Yeah, nobody, like, I hate Superman stories because he's like a god and nobody can hurt him, and it's boring.
Right.
I mean, who wants to read that? Nobody reads a book where the guy wins every fight, bangs all the chicks, has $1 billion, and never. That's boring. I'm serious. That is just so boring. I just can't get into that.
You just described my book one. Thank you. Yeah. Well, you're telling me a little bit about some of the challenges you have. You have dyslexia. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm dyslexic. Yeah. And here's the funny thing. Like, I literally graduated from high school with a 2.51 GPA.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody ever told me I had dyslexia. It wasn't found out until I processed into the Army.
Yeah.
Through the education center. And they pulled me in there and they're like, you know, how'd you do in high school? And I told them, I'm like, yeah, I got a 2.51 GPA. And this is the word, the lady's words almost exactly. She's like, okay, I want you to imagine you just ran the Boston Marathon. You came in dead average. You come across the finish line and somebody next to you goes, hey, man, why do you have an anchor on your back? And I was like, holy shit. So, like, I went all the way through high school and did a 2.51 GPA, which is the poster child for average.
Yeah.
And I had this huge handicap I didn't even know I had.
It's funny because I know a guy that was about 5 years ahead of me in high school. Same thing. Had no idea he had it until he actually went to trade school to be an auto body guy.
Yeah.
And that's where he learned that he had it. He figured out how to learn, and he could fix just about anything.
Yeah.
He's that guy in suspenders back home that has a hayseed or a hay straw sticking out. Saying, yeah, I could fix that. You know, give him a month and he does. But yeah.
But it totally changed my life.
I bet.
I was just like, wow, anything's possible. Game on.
Look at you now. You're authoring and you're killing it.
Well, I wouldn't say I'm killing it. I mean, I'm not making a lot of money or anything. But hopefully one day if I write enough, it'll catch on. We'll see.
Well, there are a lot of groups on Facebook that kind of talk about that. And the average author that makes a good living at producing books, usually it's 20. On average, it's 20 books, and then you can expect, you know, a good wage out of it.
Okay.
It's just really funny, but when you first listen to his name's Craig Martell, and when you first listen to it, you're like, yeah, whatever. You know, this guy, I don't have no idea how many books he has out. He has tons, but everybody will go through his program, and he offers this for free. And when they get done, it's about somewhere between 13 and 25 books, depending on what you write. And all of a sudden they're killing it. And it's like, it's just a matter of just plodding through it and getting through it and writing book after book after book. And when you get that done, inevitably, when somebody hits that level where you start getting recognized and Amazon all of a sudden says, hey, you're an author, and starts promoting you and everything, it's about 20 books. And these people are starting to kill it with, you know, 1 million page reads a month, and they're selling, you know, a couple hundred of each book every month and everything else. So anyway, for those just jumping in, we just lost connection real quick, but we're back and we're ready to rock and roll. So we were talking about 20 books to 50K, which is a group on Facebook, but it really seems like most of the authors that become full-time authors, it's right around 20 books where they start making some decent money.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then you get shaving ads and television spots and all sorts of shit. It's really great. Hope
Well,
to get there someday.
Mean, that's a lot of writing. That's a lot of writing.
It is, but on the other hand, I mean, it appears to me, from based on what you told me, it's something that you love, so it starts being something that's not so hard. And I think I was talking to H.M. Gooden, and she was telling me about how she dictates all of her books using Dragon Naturally Speaking.
Yep.
And she said that increased her book production by 10% or tenfold. I'm sorry.
Really, tenfold.
Tenfold, yeah.
Yeah.
She's got a couple of kids, and she, I mean, she basically dictates from when she either goes on a walk or when she's driving to work. She's got like a 40-minute drive or something like that.
Wow.
And one way. And so then that's when she does her writing, is she just dictates into her phone. And then that night she edits it, and boom, it's done.
All right.
But I don't know. Everybody's got their own process.
Yeah. Well, the thing is like my thing would be the editing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I could pound them out pretty quick. They're just adventures. It's not a big deal.
Well, what kind of problems how long does it take you to edit?
Well, like I myself will run it through Grammarly once or twice, and then I hand it off to somebody with a real brain that goes through it, because there's just things I just can't see. I'm just not programmed to see them.
Yep.
So,
I use Pro Writing Aid, but
what's it called?
Pro Writing Aid.
What is that?
It's the same thing as Grammarly. It does I like the way it hooks into Microsoft Word.
Oh yeah?
And yeah, I think it does a really good job of catching not just spelling, but just about anything that I've seen. And when I give my book, if I give what I've written to a proofreader, they're like, "Oh, this isn't bad," and of course they rip it to hell, but they just don't rip it to hell as much.
How much does that cost you?
Oh, it's like, I think it's $100 a year or something like that, or underneath. I mean, it's not much.
All right.
It's not much.
Well, I'll have to give that a look, because I do the Grammarly thing, and I mean, it's okay. But like when I handed it off, I ran it through Grammarly twice. I handed it off to my editor, and he basically laughed me off the stage. It's just terrible.
No, that's their job.
Yeah. Wow.
It's their job is to rip you a new asshole. Every time you give them something, like, I don't know, this is gonna, I think that's how they upsell you too. There's a lot of development work that I have to do here too, because, I found a plot hole on page, 372, and we're going to have to fix that in chapter 3. Like, okay, yeah.
That's I think that's what a continuity editor.
Yeah, continuity and developmental editing. Yeah. And then you have your line editors and everything else, and you end up with a good product once you're done. But going through that process, after they take your little baby that you've loved and nurtured all the way through to delivering it to them, and then they butcher the son of a bitch. But yeah.
Well, another thing, I had one editor that just totally changed my voice and I'm like, that's not going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a problem with that.
Yeah, I would too.
But it is what it is.
That's when you just discard it, and hopefully they give you a refund, but they usually don't.
No, they don't.
Yeah, not at all.
No. But it is what it is. Like another thing I do, like the Jericho Files. This are just standard military planning. You get the mission, he researches it, recons the mission, rehearses, does it, and then withdraws. And it's all only, it's like cookie cutter. The places and the names change. So
you see, that's the one advantage you have over somebody like me, is you actually know that shit. You've lived it, breathed it, and this is just the way this shit happens.
30 years.
30 years.
I used to I'd write operation orders for like whole companies. I have different squads and platoons doing different stuff and coordinating, frequencies and helicopters and indirect fire and all kinds of stuff like that.
Huh.
I mean, there's a lot of moving parts.
Well, and those are the types of details that people love in those damn novels. And it's like, like, yeah, we planned some shit and this looks like a really good plan and move on to the action, to whereas in yours you get a hell of a lot more detail. Well,
in the first book, he actually, destroys an entire drug gang in Miami. And
cool.
He does a complicated ambush with, basically anti-personnel mines that he makes. Sets up his sectors of fire and everything.
So it's not only a fiction book, but it's also a how-to manual, huh?
Yeah, I do cover a lot of that. How to build all that stuff, what it does, the area of effect, all that crap.
That's not a bad thing. Well, it is. Well, I don't know. Well,
it's fiction.
It's fiction. It's not real.
It's fiction. It's a psychic.
Whatever.
Well, for like a lot of the ideas for that came when I was going through my divorce. I basically, came to my attention that my now ex-wife was getting a forced cock run through her, and my mind went to like a crazy dark place.
Mm-hmm.
And I hand wrote over a 3-month period because I had a really good commander at the time. He's like, "You're gonna go to school," and he sent me to Intel Analyst School for 3 months. So while I was there, I wrote the Book of Evil, and it scared me, all of the shit that I know how to do.
Oh, sure.
I was like, holy crap. I could never publish that book, but pieces of it are coming out in the fiction novels that I'm writing.
So I'm just kind of curious. So you have this Book of Evil, and you're writing. Did you send it to your wife just so she could proofread it for you?
No.
Okay. Yeah. That would have been bad.
Yeah, that'd be really bad.
How about the boyfriend she's banging? I'm just...
Well, to be honest, I had a really close friend of mine talk me down from doing some bad shit to that dude.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I could have taken his life and ruined my own, or I could have used all that negative energy and focus it into something positive and help a lot of other people. And that's what I decided to do.
I got to tell you, I'm glad you made that choice because, your YouTube channel or DTube channel or however people want to get to you is fucking hilarious. I mean, you do a really nice job in the political satire and also just the political environment and kind of going into that. That's like I said, it really needs to get more recognition than it has.
Yeah, but they don't like me. That's fine. Like,
you don't like anybody. What are you talking about?
Listen, when I started this, I knew it was going to be an uphill slog fight. It's going to take years upon years. It's never going to be easy.
Well, how long have you been doing it?
I started going against the system in like 2008 when my divorce was finalized, and I realized just how one-sided the whole system was.
Yeah.
It infuriated me, and and then a lot of these guys that go through this divorce and get lose their kids and stuff, they kill themselves.
Yeah.
And to date, I have somewhere north of 320 emails and other communications from guys who flat out said, "Hey man, if it wasn't for you, I'd be dead."
I can believe that.
I mean, 320 people, that's a battalion of dudes.
It is. Some of the stuff that it's all kind of tongue in cheek at times, but the way you present it, but a lot of the stuff that you present on there is like, it's exactly the way it fucking is. I mean, it just is, I
just tell how it is.
It's not like you're making up shit or, I mean, it's kind of what makes it really funny is that it's based on the fucking truth.
Well, see, what most men in the Western world fail to realize is their penis is attached with Velcro. And when they walk into divorce court, the bailiff just jerks it off, bends you over, and slams it home right into your slot B. And it'll stay there for 18 to 21 years, depending upon the state you're in and the laws for divorce there.
Yep.
Yeah. And most people are like, what? This is happening. This is America. Ah! Terrible. It's terrible. Who knew? I didn't know.
Who knew? Yeah.
Literally, after my divorce was finalized, I went and I looked up a couple of my close buddies, and I apologized to their face about all the shit that I ignored that they were telling me.
Yeah.
Because I was like, yeah, you're just better, blah, blah, blah. And then until it happens to you, and you're like, what? Wow.
Fucking that was truth bomb. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. I'm serious. They don't seem to realize this is the way it works.
Mm-mm.
You know,
could almost write an entire book on that.
I could. I've sat, like, after my divorce was finalized, I literally sat in on, I don't know, somewhere like 50 plus days of divorce court testimony for other people's divorces.
Yeah.
And it was it's just a shit show. Like, literally, you walk in there, you have a penis, you lose.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how it is.
Yep.
They shouldn't be that way. But, you know, that's the reality on the ground.
It is amazing to me to watch my friends, or some of my friends, go through it, and the things that they end up agreeing to.
Yeah.
For, you know, things that they wouldn't necessarily have to if they just fought a little bit, but, you know, it beats your soul down to nothing. And then you're like, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I can do that.
Look, like sure. They tried that bullshit with me, and like I literally had my ex-wife in court every 25 days for almost 2 years.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. You know, I learned how to do it's administrative violence. You know, once you figure it out, I got my black belt. Well, actually, then I had a brown belt in administrative violence. I had to fill out my own paperwork, do my own thing. It's not a big deal. And then, you know, it became like this brutal game of attrition, because I would pay $85 to file, and then she would come up with an attorney that she would fork out like $500 for.
Uh-huh.
And
Did you have to pay for her attorney?
No, I didn't pay for her attorney.
Oh, okay.
No. And it got to the point literally to where the judge was like, hey, look, man, if you come in here again, I'm going to throw you in jail. And I'm like, wait a minute, Your Honor. Wait, whoa. Just because I'm coming in here to court and using the system I'm allowed to because I'm a citizen and a taxpayer, you're going to throw me in jail? He's like, yeah. I go, well, let's do it now. I will call my commander, and then you'll have the Pentagon here figuring out why you threw me in jail for using, you know, the court process, which I'm allowed to do.
Huh.
So then he was just like, all right, let's go back to my chambers. And he's like, all right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to give you 3 weekends a month. And I'm like, I want Monday mornings. And my ex-wife threw a fit. And I go, Your Honor, why do I have to get ripped off out of the school experience?
Yeah.
He's like, you're absolutely correct. 3 weekends a month it is. And I've had that ever since. So.
Oh. You got a much better deal than a lot of people do.
Well, and not in the beginning. Like, I literally had to fight tooth and nail.
Yeah.
I lodged complaints against the several judges. I went after the license for my ex-wife's attorney twice. You know, whenever you do a formal complaint like that, it shuts down the whole waxworks for them until they investigate it. I just caused all kinds of problems.
It's not really problems. It's just kind of, you know, the process.
Well, the thing is I knew that, you know, the stuff that was going on, my ex-wife's attorney was just egging her along, and it was, you know, basically unethical. Yeah. And I put a formal complaint against her license for, you know, unethical behavior. And
I'm shocked that an attorney would actually do that. It's
oh yeah, totally shocked. Yeah. Wow. Wow. That never happens.
No. I really think we should go for this, and the extra
Yeah.
charges and everything else.
Yeah, my ex-wife killed my dog and did all kinds of horrible shit to me.
What?
Yeah. I had a 6-year-old chocolate lab. Smoked him.
Really?
Yeah, I got 3 different stories, but I've watched enough crime shows to know when the story changes, the outcome is never a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times when they change the story do you find the person chained to a locker in an abandoned warehouse? Never.
Right.
They're dead. They're gone,
Exactly.
man. They're in for the big sleep.
The big sleep, huh?
That's what happened, and I'm still sore about that, and I probably will be for the rest of my life because that was some low ass shit right there.
That's kind of dirtball shit.
Yeah, that's that was beyond evil, and I hope sooner or later that it catches up to her.
Karma's a bitch.
I would really not have a problem with watching her go through breast cancer. And
let me just pause a minute to relish that. Okay.
being honest here, I'm just being honest.
That's all right. Pop will never lie to you.
I'm a terrible liar. If I could lie, I would have retired from the CIA. I retired from the Army because I just have no tongue for it.
Yeah.
I know. I can't even lie to my kids. I mean, they've been able to detect my lies since they're like 3 and 4 and 2.
Oh,
because they're like, say that again.
You're
lying. And I'm like,
How old are they now?
18 and 16.
18 and 16. Oh, teenagers.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh.
The older one just started college. She's going to school to be an architect.
Oh, cool.
But raising daughters, I discovered that they really do have a bitch switch. It grows between their shoulder blades, and it basically grows at the same pace as their bumpers up front. So when they have a good set of bumpers, that switch is ready to get flipped, and it happens.
Did I mention all my kids are girls?
No.
Yeah.
So you know the drill.
Yeah. The running joke in our house is I don't have C man, I have C women.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, the thing is also, like, if you have boys, you don't have to worry about 1 or 2 penises.
Right.
I have 2 girls, so I have to worry about 3.5 billion penises times 2.
Right.
That's a hell of a lot of hypervigilance, and you have to multiply that by 4. You're 2 times fucked.
No. Been through that already. Yep.
Oh, I'm dreading that day when, like, she shows up with a boyfriend. I'll be like,
oh, and it's the worst thing because they sit there and they fucking lie to you. And they try and impress you, try and do this, try and do that. And you're sitting there talking to them. It's like, yeah, no, I don't think so. I don't think so.
Like, you're talking to me like I wasn't a young man once.
Uh-huh.
You should shut up while you're ahead, because I know the truth. I know the deal.
I know exactly how you should have done this, and I'm not going to tell you how, but you're still fucking lying to me. So anyway, it's funny. My oldest daughter got into MMA, and we went down, and I watched her fight, and it wasn't it was kind of a bad fight, and so I said, why don't I just come in? I'll come into your gym real quick, and we'll see if I can't, show you a couple things. And, everybody's kind of thinking, old guy, fucking doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
Wrestled since I was in 2nd grade, did judo, did some other things, a little jiu-jitsu, a little kempo, I don't know. So I just started showing them throws, and it was like, holy shit, you might know something. No one else knew how to grapple. And it's like, okay, this is what a wrestling snapdown looks like. Boom, And I coached wrestling and shit and everything else. And it's just like, yeah. And I became friends with her boyfriend, who was her coach at the time. But that was an interesting, that was kind of interesting.
Yeah. I fought professionally too semi-professionally, professionally for 10 years.
Oh, really?
As a kickboxer.
As a kickboxer? American kickboxing or Muay Thai?
I did international rules and full contact.
Oh, cool.
Now, like, I tried boxing, and I'm going to be honest, I started that way too late.
Yeah.
If I'd have started like when I was in my lower teens, I'd probably been pretty damn good. But, I didn't. So when I tried boxing in my mid-20s, I didn't do so good.
Yeah.
Especially, there's a lot of things that you can do in boxing you can't do in kickboxing.
Boxing is a fucking art.
Yes.
It is absolutely an art. And I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it, but going up against a boxer with hands only it's almost fucking suicide, because they will pop you 6 ways from Sunday.
If they know what they're doing.
Yeah. If you end up going against a good boxer and you're just like, shit, I don't even know how the hell did you get through me?
Yeah.
You got these big fucking, practice gloves on and everything else. And it's like, okay, I'm completely covered.
Nope.
Boom. Whoa. What the fuck did you do that?
But there's a lot of things that a boxer does. If he goes against a kickboxer, he'll get creamed.
Yeah.
Because like in kickboxing, there's none of that low slipping crap. You're going to get kicked right in the head.
Yeah. No, but if you can't use your legs, then you're
screwed.
You are fucked if it's just hands. Yeah. And some of those guys, they look like it's a nice gentle punch until you feel it. And you're like, oh man, he only weighs 120 pounds. What the hell happened?
Yep.
Yeah. I think Brazilian jiu-jitsu is about the same way. I when I went into that, it was, shit, I'm a big guy. I'll go against this little guy. This little guy is almost a black belt. He had to be about he's probably 130 pounds, climbed all over me, choked the shit out of me every 15 seconds. And it's just like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, wrestlers don't have the finishing moves that they do in jiu-jitsu.
No, you don't.
But the thing is, if you're a really good wrestler and you go in there, you'll still get choked out, but it's not going to be that easy for him to do. And then once you learn the tricks, then it's a whole other animal.
See, that's kind of my thing in movies when they do the, they do the rear naked choke. It's like, no, put that arm right, or whatever, but
sink it in there.
That kind of shit, I can write about all day. It's the, shit I don't have any experience with, but
yeah. Like I write, like in my book, I literally talk about some of the bad guys he kills. I talk about shot placement and follow-up shots and what the body does when it's hit and how the guy falls on the ground. And
I think it's really funny when I talk to both my brother-in-law and my sister were Marines. That's actually where they met. And when we talk about stuff like that, it's very similar to the stuff my dad taught me about hunting. The rules, about the same, don't shoot high, shoot low, squeeze, breathe, don't jerk the trigger, all that kind of crap. And when I talk to them and they talk about all the training that they went through, it's not lost on me that they're talking about shooting humans instead of deer or geese or,
we just substitute the word targets.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have to engage the targets.
Right.
That's anything you're shooting at is a target.
That's true. I'm not as quick as the rest of you. So I just kind of like, oh, it's the same thing. Oh, a bullet. Yeah. Okay. I got it.
Like I literally went to one of the firing ranges up here in Michigan. It's run by the state. And, I'm in the military. I pull out the military silhouettes I'm sticking up there. And the guy's like, hey, you can't do that. You can't put up human silhouettes. I'm like, okay, well, what about a human-sized oval? So I just took a big marker and painted it in. So it's just a big oval. He's like, oh, that's acceptable. I'm like, oh, yeah, there's a big difference there. Yeah.
Seriously? Because I think every range around here has, a human shadow for a target.
It was gay. I'm just saying.
Going to a gun range here, I think it's really funny how many people don't know how to fucking shoot.
It is. It is. And it's even harder to shoot once you introduce adrenaline and fear.
Yeah. You know,
That gets really difficult.
what I thought was funny when I was going through some training, they were adamant about you keeping both your eyes open.
That's a technique, not the preferred method. I mean,
when
some people are good at it.
And I didn't quite understand that why. But they were, you know, in order to get my concealed carry, they're like, okay, I want you to shoot with your eyes open. It's like, okay, you know, keep them both open. It's like, okay, you know, and they're looking at your dominant eye. It was really a weird course.
Mm-hmm.
I got my concealed carry, but on the other hand, I never really understood, nor did I give a shit to ask why that was.
Yeah, you know, the thing is most pistol fights are inside of 3 meters, and they're no more than 3 shots fired, and they happen fast.
Yeah,
and a lot of times you have barely enough time just to level the pistol before you start shooting.
I can believe that.
And if you get good at being able to at shot placement with your eyes open without even going through all the steps of lining up the sights and taking the breath, because you don't have time for that.
Right.
Yeah, that's luxury shooting.
Well,
boom, that's it. I mean,
1 shot per second. Take a nice deep breath and enjoy yourself. Okay, cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the real world, you know, by the time you take that 1 breath, you've already shot, you know, a dozen times.
Probably. That's why I carry Glock.
Yeah. You like your combat Tupperware?
Yes.
I like the SIG. I have SIGs. I like them.
You know, for some reason, the Glock just fits my hand nice. It's, you know, it's not the most accurate gun or whatever, but I do like shooting it quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. In fact, I bought my first Sig Sauer 226 from a Georgia state trooper.
Yeah.
While I was on my 8-hour break in Ranger School. And I literally snuck that pistol through Ranger School without it being detected and brought it back to Washington.
Really?
Oh yeah, it was amazing. I didn't think I was going to be able to get away with it, but I did.
It's amazing the shit you can get away with sometimes.
Oh, I mean, I don't know. They're like, there's a couple times they're like, all right, dump your shit right there. Don't touch it. I'm like, oh crap. So I like literally stick it in my belt, dump it out. You know? I got so lucky. The gods are smiling on me or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised from what I know you got away with that, to tell you the truth. But
yeah,
like I said, I get the stories, and I'm sure they're somewhat embellished, but maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not really a big embellisher, but some of them I think have changed over the years. But I think they changed to be more mellow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I tell one story on my channel how I had a guy I went to Ranger School with. He was in the Navy. He was in the Anglico unit, which is indirect fire. They call naval gunfire.
Okay.
He screwed me over. So I told him, like, hey man, when you get back stateside and I get back stateside, I'm gonna mail you a Pringles can full of shit. And I did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got in a lot of trouble for that. But you know, if you're gonna say you're gonna do it, you do it.
You might as well do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. It caused a big problem because you know, I didn't know this, but when you're in the Navy and you're on ship and you're inside 6 weeks of coming back to the port, they don't forward your mail to you. They just keep it at the port. So
Okay.
this Pringles can full of human feces was leaking everywhere and caused a big problem. Big problem.
Yeah.
But, you know.
So you put a return address on it, huh?
Oh no.
Oh,
No. No return address, only stamps. Threw it in the mailbox. They didn't even, you know, because he basically said I did it, but I never fessed up to it. I'm just like, hey, is there a return address on that? And they're like, no. I'm like, well, I don't know nothing.
No fingerprints, no.
It could have something to do with the way he screwed me in Ranger School. Just saying. Yeah.
I may have said that, but yeah.
Well, once I said it was a ranger school thing, like the tension level went from 12 to like 3.
Oh, okay.
Like, literally, my commander's like, yeah. Oh, yeah. I think this is a ranger school thing. Yeah, he kind of screwed me in ranger school. All right, I'll handle it from my end. It's all good. That was it. I had to do like a 24-mile road march. Big deal.
So did you go through that march and say it's so fucking worth it?
Oh, yeah. It was worth every step. Every step.
Every step.
Yeah, totally worth it. I'd do it again. If they didn't have DNA evidence, I'd do it again.
Shit. Well, we've been on for about an hour.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, you get a chance to read those novels.
Yeah, I'm going to pick them up. I will.
Because, the thing is I try to keep all of the stuff following the same set of rules. I don't like change them that much. Like how he astral walks, and like the main character didn't really know how to do astral projection until he was much older in his life, and he actually learned it from a shaman in South America.
Okay.
He also taught him how to be a dream walker.
Oh, really?
So he can like literally jump into people's dreams and influence people's minds that way. He can block remote viewing, and and another thing, like this particular character is he gets a lot of his power and endurance and stuff he does from hate.
Yeah.
He runs off hate.
Hate and coffee.
And it works quite well for him.
Well, that's not a bad thing.
No, but it is what it is.
I promise you I will read them and I will review them shortly. I have some time coming up where I can do that. Anything else you want to say to your readers?
Well, yeah, be kind in the reviews. And, they're written from an individual who has dyslexia. And a lot of the stuff I write about in there is from personal experience. I mean, I'm not a psychic in any way, shape, or form, but the combat, the fighting, and everything. I mean,
that's one of the things we talk about on the show. If you're going to write a review, be fucking constructive. Don't I don't like this. If you don't like it, you should have probably bought the book. You get an idea what it is from the blurb in the first few pages you can read. Don't bitch about the editing. Don't bitch about all this other stuff. If you have something constructive to say that may help the author, do it.
Yeah.
But don't trash somebody just because you're having a bad day or, whatever. But,
and that's another thing I noticed is, I tried getting into some of those, pages where they have a bunch of authors and they give their advice and stuff like that. There's a lot of negative Nelly hold back, people.
Yeah.
There's like so negative. I'm like, what the hell?
Well, some of those communities, you put out like, hey, I want to see, I want this cover. What do you think of it? And there'll be 30 people in there rip the fuck out of you. And then you go look them up and they haven't even published a damn book.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, asshole. Really?
That's another thing that I think has helped me out a lot is I no longer care what people think. I don't, because when you worry what people think of you, you are always their slave.
You know what, sir? You're becoming an author because we don't give a shit.
I don't give a shit. Don't care.
Nope. No, that's kind of it. You put your art out there, and it is art. I don't give a shit what you say or what somebody says. And you're basically walking around saying, okay, take a look at my shit and judge it. Read it, love it, hate it, whatever you're going to do. And guess what? It doesn't matter because that's what I put out. And this is, I wrote what I want to read. I wrote the story that was in my heart. So
yep. I'm working on a sci-fi genre as well.
Really? Yeah.
Like I had a pretty significant surgery a couple of years back where I was laid up for about 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And literally I just got one of those big, lined paper notebooks, and I hand wrote an entire universe of different races and different politics. And I was actually thinking of using that as, the world to write a couple of sci-fi stories against.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
So how many ideas do you have in your folder? How many, as far as, how many books do you have stuck up there?
Okay, I've outlined 4 books for the Jericho Files, present time. I have 3 outlined for when he was younger and he was just a remote viewer psychic agent. And that's all espionage. There's no magic other than some dim mock and stuff like that. It's all psychic powers and, going against Russians and the Chinese, in the field. And, I probably got another 2 science fiction ones, roughly mapped out of how I want them to go. So, yeah. And I buy a lot of the old defunct role-playing games in regards to like the sci-fi, and there's a lot of good ideas in there.
Yeah. That type of stuff, like I said, I can't believe how many people get their inspiration from that. And it's something that I don't do. So it's like, fuck, what am I missing? Because I don't have all the answers. I just like, okay, where do you come up with this idea? It was a role-playing game. Shit, I should probably start doing that one of these days. But
the thing is, the thing about like the role-playing games, especially the tabletop role-playing games, is what they do to benefit you is you actually get to keep your imagination when you become an adult. I have so many of my friends that they can't watch any fantasy stuff on TV because it's stupid.
Yeah.
And, they can't get into Star Wars. It's stupid. I mean, how boring is your life?
Yep. No, I absolutely get that. I'm in the computer industry. How many of those people do you think even have a sense of humor at times? But
not many.
Not many. No. Fuckers. Anyway, I don't know. It's something I haven't gotten into, and it's just it's really something that it's one of those things where I plan to, but I've got too much shit going on. So
I don't game anymore either. See, that's one of the downsides when you come back from war, and I had like the injury I had.
Yeah,
it's like when I healed back up, I no longer had the drive to game, or I even lost the video game thing. I used to love to play video games.
Yeah.
And I literally have to force myself to do it. Yeah. I mean, I'll still play video games maybe 2-3 times a month for an hour, 2 hours here. But I used to be able to stay in front of the computer all day Saturday and half of Sunday, and I loved it. I just don't have that anymore.
Yeah.
It's sad. It's sad.
I don't have a brain injury, and I can't do that either.
Yeah, well, what are you going to do?
I got kids.
You got kids, so you gotta make sure they don't rot their brains.
I have reality games, Yeah. Most of them are revolving around Frozen nowadays, but that's fine.
Frozen, oh my god.
Oh yeah. Fuck me. Jesus. Oh.
Well, I'll tell you what, thanks for having me on your show.
You know what? I appreciate you taking time out of your day to talk to me. This has been great. I'm going to hurry up and sign off on this real quick. So this is Jeff Bacon with DIY Writer telling you to have a good day. Keep your chin up. And if you can, follow me and subscribe to my channel and do whatever you can to keep this program going. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Winning.
Please hit the subscribe button. I get a bonus for every subscriber, and I only need 1,506 more to become a full-time paid employee. Help me, please.